Good morning and welcome to the morning break here on Breaking Times, where we bring you all of the trending stories across Nigeria. I am Ijoma Uba.
And I am Abbas Muhammad.
And I'm also Serena. Good morning.
So we move on to politics, where we look at all of the things that has been happening between yesterday and today in Nigeria. Well, Nigerians are to pay tax on every 10,000 naira for purchase. Now, a lot of people have gotten this story confused, but what it actually is the federal government is set to introduce a 5% surcharge on locally and imported petroleum products. This policy is aimed at generating significant annual revenue, and this tax, which is part of the new Nigerian Tax Act, is would translate to 500 naira tax on every 10,000 naira fuel that is purchased, and it is slated to take effect from January 2026. I don't know. I mean, when this comes, there was a lot of misconception when this came up. As a lot of people assumed that what this means is that when you buy full of 10,000 naira, then you must pay 500, which means if you're buying below 10,000, yes,
9,999 naira.
then you won't have to pay tax, which is actually wrong because it is actually 5% on any, on any, if you're buying 200 naira for, you're still going to pay 5%. That's what it means, really. But it's significant that people have to pay 10,000 naira for 500 naira, 500 naira, sorry, for every 10,000 naira for purchase. What does this mean for the common man? I mean, we're already seeing an increase in transportation costs. Wouldn't this make it even worse?
Well, I think this is coming at a very wrong time from the federal government. Yes, no, we know that it's part of the campaign of the present president was that he's going to increase, tax. There will be creation of more tax on different, forms and formats. But then at the same time, you have to consider the economic situation of the country. We've not fully recovered, from the removal of the subsidy. Yeah. We've seen an increase in tax. We've seen people with personal cars, dropping their cars at home, following public transport due to the increase because the income is not increasing. The income, your salaries are not increasing, wages are not increasing. Even the minimum wage itself, is barely minimum in managing livelihood. So I think this is coming really poorly from the federal government, even though it's to start next year, and but then at the same time, what's like the campaign strategy of the president? Because these are things that these are things that are taking away people that might vote for him, people that are his supporters, because it's not really coming light on the citizens. At the same time, also, we do understand the need for creation of tax, to generate revenue for the government. But then, are we really seeing the effect of this tax? Okay, we've removed subsidy. We say that we're going to see an increase in agriculture, security, and food production. But we've still not seen that. We've not recovered from that, and then there's still more taxation coming in. So I don't know what and this is not just restricted to petroleum, CNG, kerosene and gas, cooking gas that we're all using. When the subsidy was removed, part of the moves the federal government made was to bring the CNG, the compressed natural gas, where it softens the effects of the removal of the subsidy. But then if you are also taxing the CNG and petroleum, so like we're on the same level. So what's now the point? We're still going back to the same circle. So I don't know what move the federal government has on that matter, on that venue. I know we've seen condemnation of the whole tax. The former presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, came and condemned it. But then the thing is, would they have done the same thing if they were the president? If he was the president, would he not, or would he have done the same? Because when the present president came in, we saw a situation where he removed the subsidy immediately. He didn't wait time, and then the allegation is that, or the speculation is that even the former president, Buhari, before him, late President Buhari, wanted to remove the subsidy too, but then it was the end of it, and so he just left it. So what would have been the right time for the removal of that subsidy? Whoever came into power would have still done same. And we saw a lot of condemnation, from Peter Obi, from Atiku, from other presidential candidates that this is wrong, but then we might have still seen the same thing. So would that have been the same, for this increment of tax, the tax on petroleum and cooking gas and the compressed natural gas? Would that have been the same for any other candidate? Is this a must? Is this a need? Is this something Nigerians need presently?
So I think the one thing I would say is that removal of the subsidy was because of all of the loopholes that were existent in that system. The subsidy in itself wasn't a bad thing, but the fact that a lot of money was being spent and a lot of money was being siphoned through subsidy was the problem, and that was why the subsidy had to be removed. Of course, there might have been other ways of addressing that issue, which is, follow that through and see where those leakages are and basically tighten the loopholes. But like you said, President Tinubu hit the ground running, took out the subsidy, and we were assured of a better economy that was going to be favorable to everybody with the removal of subsidy. But subsidy has been removed. The common man has not recovered. People have not really recovered from the effect of that removal, and now we are seeing this this new taxation being put in place on the same petrol. So it's very interesting. Like, how are people supposed to survive? This is inevitably going to lead to a rise in the cost of transportation, a rise in the cost of goods and services, because once petroleum cost rises, everything rises with it. Now you've mentioned, P2B coming, speaking out against it, Atiku speaking up against it. These are opposition voices, and it's very good that they're actually speaking up. But beyond making this statement, beyond saying these things, shouldn't anybody be calling for electoral reforms at this point? Because we're about to go into 2027 to face another election. What should we be doing? We're looking at the fact that, the issues that were raised in 2023, in 2024, with all of the elections that have been happening since 2023, nothing has been said, nothing has been done, and everybody is comfortable to keep condemning and condemning and condemning. I think at this point we should go beyond condemning and take action. And the first step would be to have an electoral reform, because these actions, in the lights, like you said, this is somebody who's going to face a re-election in 2027, and these are not really very people-friendly policies. If you're going to be putting this kind of policies, it's coming from a place of, I don't know, it gives the aura of that of a person who is not afraid of the electorate, or who knows that the electorate votes don't count. I don't know. But
exactly. This goes a long way to show that in this country our votes don't really count, because you'd expect that he would put a people-friendly policy. You try to pave way for himself in this coming election, but then he's doing the opposite. That means he doesn't really care about our votes. That means our vote don't count in this country. And by the way, we all know that when there's an inflation, it just never goes down.
yes,
Okay, like now everything's going to increase, transportation, feeding, every single thing. And these things, are they going to come down anytime soon? Would they ever come down?
everything goes up, everything but
Yeah.
the minimum wage, like you said,
It's
not enough
barely-
to cover the bare minimum.
Exactly. And
Exactly.
when I believe if the federal government is bringing taxation in this kind of form, there should always be a softening platform. There should be a soft landing that, okay, we're creating tax for this particular product, but then at the same time, this is what we intend to do with the revenue. But not that you're increasing. Yes, it's a give and take situation. The revenue the federal government makes is to help the society, is to build the society, is to build the country in general. So if you are creating this tax for reforms, at the same time, what are you giving back? It's not just you give out in a general sense, okay, well, we intend to build this, we intend to build that. But how far have we gone? Since the promise is made during when the subsidy was removed, we were promised that the funds being put for the subsidy were going to be diverted into other, ministerial economies. But till today, we are yet to see that, because
Well, I think it has been that, and that's why I have a problem. The funds that were saved by removal of of subsidy was put into NEL fund. So NEL fund is a education loan for students. However, this subsidy was taken from petroleum that affects every individual. It cuts across every walk of life. Whether you're a student or not, you feel the effect of the removal of the subsidy. So to take away this subsidy and then use these same funds to provide loans for students, which in itself is not a bad thing, but then you've taken out the money that is felt by everyone and given to a particular sector. So
But
when
then-
you say that you're taxing people now in this sense and say that we're raising revenue, or we're generating revenue, to what end? What is this revenue that we're generating going towards? Is it going to affect the lives of every individual in Nigeria? Are we going to see being given to another specific sector of the economy, or sector of people, and just developing, and then everybody is bearing the brunt to develop this particular sector? I don't know. We've been raising funds, we are generating revenue, but the people need to start seeing the effects of this revenue generation. I mean, that's really it. So our next story is we're back to Dangote. Another Dangote truck has crashed in Enugu, and this time it has
Unfortunately.
killed an entire family. Now, the Dangote branded truck was involved in a fatal accident at the Four Corner Junction in Enugu, and it resulted in multiple casualties, including the death of an entire family, sadly. Now, this accident has once again, sparked public outrage over the recurring issue of road accidents involving Dangote trucks. Dangote has, their industries has limited. It has released a press statement and has distanced itself from the accident, stating that the truck belongs to a third-party contractor. Now, the third-party contractor is Visco Global, and they said this truck wasn't theirs. Even though eyewitness reports that this Dangote truck was carrying cement. So I mean, it's they call it circumstantial evidence. A truck with a Dangote logo carrying cement.
But it's not his truck.
Circumstance, but they said this is not them. This is a third party operator. However, this is irrelevant at this time because we just went over the whole Fena incident with her sister,
Yeah,
who sadly also passed away, and this person has lost her life, and then we are looking at an entire family now wiped out. It's I don't know. Is this turning into a pattern? Really?
I mean, it's a very big stain on the name. Yeah, and we thought that we're going to see reforms, at least some internal reforms, given the fact that these Dangote vehicles are known for killing people in Nigeria.
That's what they're now known for.
Yeah, like it's a very big stain on the name. So the fact that up to now nothing had been done, that's what it means. And now they are saying that the truck does not belong to them. So it belongs to.
I mean, it was supposed to be by a third party operator, Visco Global, which raises a question really for me. Is there no control over your vehicles? Who, if that vehicle is out there, especially in a period like this where you're already coming out from this sort of controversy, shouldn't there have been, like you said, internal reforms, tighten the nose on some of these things, operations, and make sure that, your vehicles, whatever is going out there, it's your brand, it's your name, it is controlled. At this point, should they have been giving out their vehicles logistics-wise? Also, that is, according to the statement that they've made. Also, shouldn't there be a regulatory body at this point? This is one incident too many. Shouldn't the regulatory bodies have come in and
this is almost a recurring incident at this point. Like you mentioned, we just lost Fina's sister, who was also a victim of a Dangote truck accident, and these are just few of the reported cases. There are many that go unreported, and I believe, like you mentioned, the regulatory bodies must have recorded, because we have the Federal Road Safety Highway patrol committee and all, who when these incidents occur, they get to the scene and they make sure they resolve everything and all. I think at this point it's no longer about roads. We've heard complaints about, okay, we're having good roads, but then we're seeing the government working on highways, creating better roads for driving. And there are also minor, I'll say minor, because we're not really seeing the effects, where in certain states we have a time limit where these trucks can operate. It's usually from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. They only operate at night, where there's less traffic, so to avoid incidents or accidents like this. And at the same time, during the last incident where we mentioned what are the requirements, like what are these drivers qualified for? Do they actually have license to operate these trucks? What do they actually do on the road? And like the regulatory bodies should also be there, the VIO, the road safety, they should from time to time check how active are these people, how their previous licenses, what do they actually test them for? How sound are they to drive these trucks and operate on our roads? There should be more done to that. And this company, the company like Dangote Group is a big company. Rather, I think the government should partner not just with Dangote, because we also have other private companies with their trucks and all, and these are not just, Dangote is just one in many that was seen. Personally, I would suggest we revive our train tracks, because these people are moving cargo. So I believe if we have a working track system, these companies can also invest. It's not just them putting out money. They are losing money from this accident, losing their trucks, losing money to compensate for the lives lost. And there is no amount of money that can ever compensate for life, yes. But then there are safety measures we can take. And I believe personally that this train track system is one of the ways or measures we can reduce heavy trucks on the road, because we have a lot of land in Nigeria. States go into each other, and I believe these train tracks can create a very usable system. And these companies, where we need this cement and all, we might reduce the number of huge trucks in residential vicinities, in highways in general. Because if you have let's say we have a train station carrying cargo of Dangote commodities to Abuja, for example, wherever it is going to be delivered to will be somewhere close by. we have pickup stations that will be close by. So this are system I believe they can work on, and private companies have these funds that they can invest. Not only would they do it for themselves, you know, like you mentioned, a third party. We said it was a third party who hired, you know, the Dangote truck to, and even though they claimed it's not them, they can also rent out, you know, these cargoes, these train cars to other companies, you know, when they want to transport. For example, if we say Dangote and Bua fund the train track for like 2 or 3 states, for example, they won't be the only ones, you know, patronizing or using it. They can also rent it out to other companies. Okay, you purchase a car, you hire a car, you put your cargo in it, and then you transport it. So this is a good
I think
solution.
this is a great way to go because it's going to reduce the amount of accidents. But for the ones that we've already done, and that's going to take quite some time. But in getting this done, we're already at this point. We've lost one life now, an entire family, I think, of 5 lost.
Exactly.
What is the way forward from here? Shouldn't there be heavy sanctions, I mean, from the regulatory bodies on the Dangote group for putting out these vehicles, or for these individuals particularly? We want to see these drivers sanctioned. We want to see their faces. We want to know who these people are. So beyond the group taking the hit, the drivers are primarily responsible. But we've said before that people are responsible for hiring these people, these drivers. Shouldn't there be some sort of test for these drivers before they get on the road? So apparently, because sometimes you see really young people that have no business being on the road driving these trucks. These are heavy vehicles, and we know that sometimes we see the calls for big vehicle operators in different countries. So a driver, somebody that drives a small car, is different from somebody that drives a heavy duty vehicle like this. So the trainings are completely different. So these companies, it falls on them, the onus is on them to raise these drivers, to train them, to make sure that they are qualified before putting them out on the road. And it is also the job of the regulatory bodies, like road safety, because you see them at every checkpoint. You are traveling from one state to another, they are everywhere harassing ordinary road users, and yet these things happen over and over again. But then this is Dangote yet again, same company, same truck, yet in the spotlight, even though they have distanced themselves from it. Now, what can be done? Because we can't wait until another accident happens, until more lives are lost before we start speaking of what should be done to make them, you know, as a company, go back and say we can't continue like this. We need to people need to see that we've taken actions.
I feel like there should be heavy sanctions. I think the federal government, you know, ignores this because it's Dangote we're talking about here. But then, like, these are human lives. Like, it just begs the question: does this country really value human lives? I mean,
You know,
people are
It's
dying.
also-
every day.
Nigerians
it's
are
also
very
scary
vulnerable,
because
like in
when
Nigeria.
we are consistently not having a justice system whereby we see the Dangote group or whichever company it is, you know, being sanctioned, the driver has been sanctioned, it will soon turn into a jungle justice kind of situation where people start taking matters into their own hands.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next story. And this is on a lighter note. British Nigerian activist Baroness Valerie Amos has been named House President alongside former Prime Minister Theresa May. I mean, this is the first female Prime Minister or female presidents of Chatham House in over 100 years. And this is very interesting. So she'll be sharing the role with Theresa May. Theresa May is starting immediately, but Valerie Amos is going to be starting 2026 next year. What does I mean? As Nigerians, how does this make us feel, knowing that we already have the leader of the opposition,
I feel very proud.
Kemi Badenoch? I mean, as a woman too, how does it make you feel? Really?
I feel very bad. It's good to see a woman on top, by the way. And you know, I feel very, very good because Nigerians tend to do well outside than here. Well, over here, it's basically ethnicity, ethnic crisis, this and this, and but you see outside there, our people are actually heading. You see, so it's a very good thing.
I mean, it's really
I mean,
great.
it calls for reflection.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to reflect on ourselves because how is it possible that outside we are doing very well? Okay, other countries are able to you know, take us in and give us certain positions and all that, trust us with certain positions. But here is based on ethnicity. There's tribal war here and there. It's just really funny.
I mean, it's a very interesting thing because it's very valid. Nigerians are doing better outside
We're doing
because
better
of the
outside than in
enabling
our own home.
environment. Yes, we have an enabling environment outside to work. Really, the system is working, and we like it when the system is working. But coming to Nigeria, we see that there are so many loopholes. We're also looking for how to take advantage of the loopholes. But that's a very valid point. Looking at ethnicity, how we are holding very relevant positions. I mean, we see that the leader of the opposition in UK is Kemi Badenoch, even though she refuses to
That
identify
was
as
in
a
Nigeria.
Nigerian. But that's a Nigerian leading an opposition party in another country, and that's amazing to see. Ah, to see our nationals in other countries doing well. Even in the past administration in the US, President Biden's administration, there was still a Nigerian inside there. So we're there everywhere doing great things. And then when we come back to Nigeria, we now come back to this his Yoruba, his Hausa, his Fulani, his that. We come back and we start doing all of this. Isn't it time we see the writing on the wall and know that our divisions are caused by people or politicians who are exploiting it for their own personal gains? Because outside the country, we understand that we are one. At this point, nobody cares. Where is Valerie Amos from? Nobody cares.
Nigerian
We
is
just know
Nigeria.
she's Nigerian and we are okay with the fact that she's Nigerian. Kemi Badenoch, apart from the fact that she's Kemi, nobody really cares that she's Yoruba. I've not seen anybody refer to her as Yoruba. Everybody is fine. She's Nigerian, she's Nigerian. And that's the one spirit that, that we're supposed to have as Nigerians, that this is my brother, this is my sister. But remember when Desmond Elliot was running in Lagos and there were a lot of outcry
Tribal.
and say, he's not from here. Why should he? Even when whatever Rhodes was also running for governor, they said his mother is Igbo. Why? And I think we have grown past this. We're falling to the same colonialist mindset, the
Exactly.
mindset that the
We've grown
people who
past.
colonized us had, dividing us, and we're really one at the end of the day. I mean,
Right, true. One thing I will commend, is the fact that this is a very key position, having female black Nigerians in this very active position. You can also commend, during the previous election when our presidential candidates all went there, to be interviewed, with scrutinized by the Chatham House, there was a lot of criticism, like, why are we going there? Why are we bowing down to the whites and this and that? But then people have to now see the bigger picture. Having a president from Nigeria, they will now see that this is actually something diplomatic. It's showing, like you mentioned, it's reflecting how it's all about values, your qualities as a leader, as a person, what you are bringing, that shapes how you are being viewed, not your ethical background or tribal background. That does not matter at all. What is important is what you're actually bringing. Let me use the word the table. Is what you're actually bringing to the table, the values you're bringing to the principles you're bringing to the table. So I think there's a lot Nigerians can learn from this and imbibe, we can also imbibe within our country.
I mean, kudos to her. She's going to be sharing that platform with Theresa May. That's a very powerful female figure, and we are
Truly.
rooting for them. We want to see a lot more being done.
Yeah.
True.
Our
Want
next
to see
story,
more women
more women, really.
achieving things.
We don't want to have to wait for another 100 years before we see.
Sure.
Okay. But yesterday was a very dark day in a certain part of Abuja where touts caused a fatal crash in Mabushi. Now, reports indicate that a tragic accident in the Mabushi area of Abuja has claimed the lives of a husband and wife. The accident was allegedly caused by task force who were chasing a taxi driver, causing him to lose control and ram into the victim's vehicle. So they said, according to stories and reports, these tax force collectors that are associated with AMAC, I don't know if you're in Abuja, if you drive, you will know them. So they were, dragging the steering with the driver, and the driver lost control of the vehicle. I'm Like I said, if you're a resident in Abuja and you're a motorist in Abuja, even if you're not a motorist, if you're entering vehicles in Abuja, trust me, you will know these people, because you enter and before you can say, sometimes you don't even know what it's about, and these people are in your car. They get into your car, they drag the steering, they behave in very crude manners, and somehow these people are being empowered by the government. They're being empowered by agencies that are set up by the government, and it is very, very I don't know, it's very crude. It is very inappropriate for these people that are touts. I've had a personal encounter with them, running, smelling, reeking of alcohol, jumped inside the vehicle. And I wondered how, what's, are we living in a jungle? What is going on in this country? These people are empowered and they are collecting tax. They will show you the papers, they say and sometimes when you're making these payments, they're making it to personal account. It's not a government account, so you don't know. And I know that the only company that is supposed to be collecting tax in Nigeria is the Federal Inland Revenue Service. So I don't understand. Are these employees of FIRS? What is, when you say AMAC, I know AMAC as a local, is a municipal area. So what is the correlation? Is this constitutional? Are these task force on the road, are they constitutional? Should they be out there endangering the lives of motorists?
You see, I think like our co-host usually mentions, he always starts, the national orientation and the president, he always mentions the national orientation and agency. I think if they are actually constitutional, there should have been more sensitization, more information out there for people, motorists, to know that, okay, these people are out there and this is their job. Just the same way when you see a road safety officer with his uniform, you know what to do, you know why he's stopping you, you know what he's supposed to ask you, you know your rights. But when these people stop you, like you mentioned, they usually look
Those
out.
reflective jackets.
Exactly. A very short story. I remember a friend of mine starting, the boat business, and within his first 2 days that he started, he got, harassed by some of them. He was to pick a passenger. As soon as the passenger went in, they used the opportunity to go in with her. For example, one, that is not even safe for the passenger. She would have freaked out because this is something very unnatural. Like, who are these people? And most of them, like you mentioned, they reek of alcohol. They look very touts alike. And the entire car, they told him they were here for. So he was clueless about their whole functions and roles. So he was thinking, his first instinct was, these were touts. These were people that were wanted. These were people that were going to kidnap him. So he complied with whatever they were doing. They pushed him out of the driver's seat, made him become a passenger. They drove him until they got to a very secluded area, and they forced him to transfer about 45,000 naira into a personal account, saying that if they were to take him to their office, it would be more. Naturally, he was scared. He didn't know if they were actually task force agency and if they would actually charge him more, or he just complied, for his own safety, and they allowed him to go. So yes, I think we should get more information about them. What are their roles? Are they supposed to be stopping personal cars? Are they supposed to be stopping commercial vehicles? If it's commercial vehicles, what are the criteria? What is the information they are supposed to look out for in order to stop them and generate this revenue? We're seeing different form of tax, within the country. We're seeing a lot of a lot, and then coming to already you have a commercial vehicle rider getting fuel at an unsubsidized rate. That is one. Two, by next year you're expecting him to start paying 5% tax on every fuel he's purchasing. Three, now you see how the task force gets him. How much is he making? What is the profit? Are the prices of goods in the market staying the same price, or are they going up?
And the passengers bear the brunt of this.
Exactly. Like, we just seen a situation whereby a whole family now has been wiped out. Who is now to be blamed? There was a jungle justice, I believe, that was meted out, and this is just frustration. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let me just focus on the issue of the regulatory bodies. We have gone past the stage of being harassed. We have the road safety having body cams. We have the police having body cams. We have CCTV cameras all around the city. Why not? Defaulting on tax. We've seen billionaires defaulting on tax at an exorbitant, and we don't see them being harassed. So is it someone that's supposed to pay 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira that you're supposed to be harassing this one? And we don't. It's not just the tax, but we are seeing them also on bikes are being taxed so daily. I believe they have their own agency that always tax them in the morning, in the evening. They stop them by the road, they pay a certain fee, and they collect a ticket. And if you don't have it, I've seen this whereby the passenger is not even a priority. As soon as they see the bike man, they harass them. If you are speeding, they just step in front of you. Whether you are stopping or not is up to you. And there's a passenger. Exactly. And for how much? Is there a price to human life? It's not really making sense at all. So I think they should be recalled. To be very frank, they should be recalled.
Well, there's been arguments that some of these people are touts that are being basically settled for the roles that they've played post-election, that this is just
which is very wrong.
Very wrong.
Which is very wrong.
And then in 2025, we should be seeing a more unified taxation system. Lets people know, because this is cumbersome. It's a lot. Like you said, sometimes people don't even know what they're being taxed about. So let there be a unified taxation system. If FIRS is going to collect tax, then FIRS should collect tax. I don't know why people should be jumping into cars. It's very wrong. It is unruly behavior. It's just totally absurd. We should not be having to see things like this, and to think that these 2 lives have been lost unnecessarily, very mindlessly. And then, like you said, there was a jungle justice carried out. People jumped in and set them ablaze, and that's why I'll come to you, Serena. Because what is the value really of a life in Nigeria? Yes, these people were wrong. Shouldn't they have been handed over to the appropriate authorities?
Exactly. Yeah, these people have turned to hoodlums and all that, but that wasn't the appropriate way to handle things. I mean, we've seen this severally where people angry mob constantly kills people.
They lynch people.
Like, just like that. So we don't even value our own lives as citizens. Then how do we expect this government to value our lives? How do we expect them to do something in regards to Dangote trucks?
True.
How do we expect that? Because they're not really valuing human lives. I was going to say a joke. We have cameras, but no lights.
I mean,
security cameras, but no lights.
That's one thing. But when you said value lives, and then that's the government doesn't value lives. I mean, the reason I think that people take law, and this is not to endorse
Jungle
mob
justice.
violence or jungle justice. But the reason that people take laws into their hands most times is because they do not trust. It's a trust deficit. They do not trust the government to do the needful. They do not trust the judicial system. They do not trust that there's a consequence for actions. Because why would I hand over this person that has done this to you so that you can release this person tomorrow? So people feel like we've caught this one, we take immediate action here and
Just
now.
like
It's like
the
we saw the ones that most times, and it's not one case, it's not once, it's not twice. Recurrently, people have reported, and then these people come out tomorrow and they come and boast and tell you, I'm
nothing
out,
happened.
you know.
So then what happens to the people that take the lives? Now what happens to the mobs
They
that
Well,
burst
disperse,
in the
and then
night?
there
they're
is no one
dispersed, and
to hold.
that's the thing. And this is also
So nothing is being done to anybody. Nobody's held accountable. Everybody's
that's the point.
just goes home free, and then
That
it continues again. That's it.
it's a wild,
Then
wild west out here. Wild, wild west. We're living like
it's
someone
like
who
we're
said
living in
it's
a
a zoo.
jungle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because those doing the harassment are not held accountable. So the mob also will not be held accountable. And you know, it has even become almost a trend now on social media where you see memes of caricature saying that thieves usually jubilate or they are usually happy whenever the police arrives before the mob because they are assured that okay, whatever the police are going to do,
It's not going to
whatever
be
the
as
punishment
much
is going
as
to be, it's not going to be as stringent as what the mob is going to do to them, and in a way it even enables them to carry out more of this kind of acts.
Close to where you know we said sometimes you find this task force just before police checkpoint because
True.
yeah, because some of the
they want the
police
safety of police.
exactly.
So they are doing this with enablers really because they know that the police is going to step in. How about we take these people off the
It's
road?
so
How about
appalling.
because they also don't have values for their life. If you see these people, they jump in front of moving vehicles. They don't have any regards for their own lives. They jump into unknown vehicles. You don't know who is in the vehicle. You don't know. Do you
To
understand?
be
You
honest,
just jump
what
into
even
unknown
is the
vehicles.
use of the vehicle inspection officers? Because if you are going to register your vehicle, you can register okay, this vehicle is going to be commercial or it's going to be for personal use. As simple as that. You create your tax form, you create a form, you make your payments there, and you have a certificate. Even if it's a sticker, they will have, the license stickers that people put on their windshield. You have that, you place that, and that's it.
And
You
that's
don't
the
need
job
to be
of the
harassed.
VIO to continue to monitor and say, okay, this person is using this vehicle for the stated use, the plate numbers, everything matches.
True.
I think we have different plate numbers, the green for the federal government, the red for commercial drivers. So, I mean, let's behave civilized. Let's
True.
act civilized. Even if we're not, let's pretend to be civilized because this is one too many incidents. We can't have people losing their lives over irrelevant situations like this. And it's really sad that this family has lost their life. It's also more saddening that these criminals would have loved for them to have faced the law, faced justice. But then these are
We
probably
ended up
people
with
who are
more
already
lives
aggrieved
lost.
from years of being or months of being harassed by this tout. Let's find better things for these people to do because these people are not gainfully employed.
True.
Let's find better things for them to do. Let's find work for them to do. Let's put them in places of authority or in offices where they
Where the
can work
physical
and
strengths they possess can go into.
channel it into something else.
You can have
Like I
factories.
said, I've had a run and I actually explained to them, I said, where is this law that you're talking about? And I went on, I told them, this is an outdated, this is not valid anymore. But I was speaking English at that point because, they are taking you. And sometimes even the extortionists, even road safety, they do it. Road safety officials, they do it. They'll say, settle us now. That's the time. Settle us now before we go to our
The
office.
office.
At some point, let's go to the office. Let me know what I'm doing. Because if I settle you now, tomorrow, somebody else in another place is going to catch me. So us as Nigerians, we have to stop enabling these people as well. We have to stop enabling them. We have to stop settling. Let us go to the offices. When we go to
But
the
sometimes
office,
it's
you
worse
tell
at the
me,
office.
no, let's go to the office. Tell me what it is. And then I sort it out. If it is a fine, I pay the fine. If it is something I need to correct, I correct it so that tomorrow, because if you settle this person tomorrow, in another location tomorrow, somebody else is going to stop you. You said you keep settling and settling. At some point, you'll find out you have settled more than the crime. So let's go. Explain my crime to me in your office. I would pay for the whatever it is there, and we move. And so we as Nigerians, let us learn to do the right thing.
True.
If I've committed an offense, let me follow you to office, settle, pay for whatever it is, and then you cannot jump into my car and take me to an unknown location. No, identify yourself as an officer. Tell me what what institution or what arm that you're
Belong
with,
to.
and then let's go to the appropriate office.
I agree
That's
with
it.
what you say on people not trusting, the justice system of the country. Because I mean, there are cases whereby some criminals are even wearing police uniforms.
True.
You get so like we can't really trust the country anymore.
Well, it is what it is. They need to do better. And then on to Ebonyi, where the state government is banning property agents to check the rising cost of rent. So the Ebonyi state government has taken a drastic step by banning the activities of property agents in the state, and this is an executive order which is intended to curb the rising cost of rent and create a more regulated housing market. Now, the government has ordered all property transactions to be handled through a single state-owned agency.
I mean, IJ, I understand the whole reason for
This
doing
is
this, but
much.
like, but this is like a means of livelihood for a lot of persons. I mean, and when people are gainfully employed, it reduces crime rates in the country. So if you're saying they should not do this again, then you have to give them something else to do. I mean, don't you agree?
I agree, but as somebody who has
And also, they make life easier for us. Don't they make life easier for you when you're looking for houses?
I agree that they make life easier because trust me, some of the houses that these people find, you see these people, they are
Oh,
trekking
but don't they make life
around.
easier for you?
Personally,
Yeah,
I would disagree. Personally, I think this is not just an Oyo State issue. It should be the whole nation having this agency, because when you look at it, I will agree that yes, they do make, in a sense, they do make looking for houses easier, but then there are better ways we can do that. We can create a system. We can create a website whereby all property owners, they post what they have there, you post all the requirements, and if it's a must, you probably a property owner and you're always busy, have an assistant. That assistant is someone who now, or like they mentioned that they were going to have a state regulated agency. So that agency now will have individuals assigned to each property and or area whereby you know that this is the single amount of revenue. And we've seen instances whereby a single house has about 5 agents. This agent, this agent, this agent, each of them have their own percentage on that money. So a house that is supposed to be rented, or an apartment is supposed to be rented for 700,000 naira, moves to about 1.5. And then when you find out that this is the actual amount, you feel betrayed. You feel like you've been cheated because it's a small apartment. So why am I paying so much? And then you still have lawyers, successful and whatnot. So there should be a system. We've seen in other countries whereby when you want to advertise for a house, a single newspaper advert is enough for you. Someone contacts you, just go to the particular page where they know that this is going to be there. And today we even have technology. It's something you can have online. The person getting the house can can state they can give. We have the NIN now. We've seen how the government wonderfully made everyone to register, have an identity card and identity system whereby you can be identified. Put in your details. We know who you are, so we know you're not going to run away. We know you're not a criminal before they give you out the house. And the agents and the house owners, the property owners, have a valid way of getting their money, and we have a good settlement. And speaking about having the agents getting a valid, because this is like their source of income, we can create this body now. We're about to create a system that they can create, can employ them, and if they are not scared of creating the extortion money and all, as simple as that, employ them there in the system. They do the same function that we're doing before, and whoever is not actually qualified to be an agent can be taken out. Because personally, I think there's an outrageous amount of money in the whole agency thing. Those who extort. We've seen a situation, I think earlier this year, where a lady rented an apartment that was in a very dilapidated state. She uses her apartment, she renovated it, she tiled it, she painted it, did a whole lot of plumbing and all, and then less than a year, about 6 months, the actual owner of the house came and said, okay, sorry, this apartment, so you're not supposed to have this apartment and all. And then she was confused, and is she going to be reimbursed for all she did? And they told her no. So what she did before leaving the apartment was she broke the ties and everything, because she was really frustrated. And Nigerians were even saying they would have done worse than that. So I think it's part of the system that they should also look into. Agents actually increase the price of houses to a very...
I'm going to personally, I have experience with that, and that's why I'm actually in line with the state government. Even though I understand where she's coming from, and there's a place for that within this new setup actually, because I've seen that these agents actually inflate the cost of houses. We've had an agent that's inflated the cost of an apartment for me, and somehow I got in touch with the landlord and I got the real price of the apartment, and I was in shock. And I already asked this agent to go and talk to the landlord because this house was actually a bit pricey. And the agent said, no, somebody else has come. This is the last. And I found out that the price they gave me was not even the price that the landlord had said, because these people are expecting a certain percentage. So the percentage, 20% on 100,000 is not the same thing as 20% on 200,000. So the more the rent cost of the house, the more the agency. But here is an agent even taking, and then that's why the state governor is angry, because these are not even the owners of the property. And how can you be taking this much? And sometimes these agents know what they're doing. You look for house for a place like Abuja, you see an agent who will come and park, that's the word, park in front of the house. And then he's answering calls in front of that house all day and collecting inspection fee. 10,000, 10,000, and then in a day, this person has shown 10 people in the same house and collected 100,000. You
And
come
then
back the very next minute and say, okay, I want to take this house. The agent tells you, oh,
it's
they've
gone.
given it out. So they're very aware. These people are extorting from people. They are duping people, actually. And like you said, technology, when the 25, I said it, that if you're going to travel to UK from Nigeria, it's possible for you to get a property before you even leave, because there are sites where these things are listed. So you come on there, you see that the properties have been listed, you find the leasing
search.
agreement, you can even sign your leasing, everything online before you even travel. So why can't we have such a thing in Nigeria? Because I know now they use Gigi. You see these agents, you see them on Gigi, you see them on so many other platforms that are not specifically, that are even more specific for renting. And you go there, you rent the properties, you meet them, they will show you something else, because you see this house, you ask them, they say that one is not available, there's another one. I don't want another one.
And you're all paying for
So,
transport
I think
yourself.
you
there will always
understand the
be a way
inspection
to.
fee.
I think there will always be a way to scam people. That's why people are not very comfortable with the idea of getting things online, because there are a lot of scammers, and to me, they will always find a way. People are always so smart and brainy when it comes to this thing. They always find a way to scam someone.
But you cannot, nobody is going to pay for an apartment they've not seen. I mean, within the country, if I'm going to rent a house, list it online. Let the owner of the house, you have legal representatives. I don't mind the legal. I mind the agency.
It's good to
The
have that
legal,
in
yes.
case of.
Let the legal be there, and they should also review, like, the case that you mentioned, review the rules beyond just agency, how landlords, tenants agreements, they should review this, because sometimes you see that landlords exonerate themselves from their own responsibilities towards the tenants. So review it, let it be unified. I like that they've taken this step, and we're going to see if it works. Maybe when it works, other states will adopt it as well, because something needs to be done drastically. And yes, these agents need to be channeled to other things. They need to find more gainful things other than walking around and inflating the price of other people's houses. So our last story today on politics, U.S. approves $32.5 million in aid to tackle Nigeria's hunger crisis. So the United States has approved a $32.5 million aid package to assist Nigeria in addressing its growing hunger crisis. The funding will provide assistance in food and nutritional support to internally displaced persons in conflict-affected regions, particularly in the Northeast and Northwest. Now, we know that earlier this year, when President Trump came on board, it was a series of executive orders, and he dissolved USAID. They said these people are siphoning money, they are wasting funds, they are spending money to encourage terrorism and all of that. So he said no more USAID, no more this, no more that. And certain agencies within Nigeria cried out. People cried out and said, there are lots of people that are suffering because of the removal of this funding. People that are living with HIV, for example, don't get access to drugs and all of that. So they cried out and said, and this food was, one of them, because as much as we hate to admit it, there are still people who are living in IDP camps across Nigeria. People that have been displaced, have not been able to return to their homes till now, and these people are essentially dependent on these aid. Now, this was one of it, and then in a very rare reversal of order, the US approved for $32.5 million to come there, but they're using the World Food Program. That's what they're using to bring food back. And it's very interesting because this is external aid in Nigerian affairs. What is our government doing, really? What can our government do? Because this is a temporary fix. We're feeding these people, but beyond this temporary fix, what can we do to sustain this?
I was going to ask the same thing. For how long are we going to keep taking from those people? For how long are they going to keep feeding us and all that? It's a really big shame that in this 21st century, it's still like this. Yeah, they should empower people. Okay, people should be empowered with skills. People should be educated and empowered so they could fend for themselves. Because it's just a temporal.
Yes.
What's the permanent fix?
So I mean, it's very important. These people need to get food immediately, because they're running out of stock.
Of course they need to get food.
WFP has already said that they're
But
running
it's
out
beyond
of stock.
food.
Yes, it's beyond food. That's what we're saying. It's beyond food, but they need to eat first, because they can't really. They need to. This is a daily survival need. So beyond that, we're giving them food, but like you said, they need to teach them skills. So when this external aid is coming in, feeding these people, our government, I think, probably needs to step in to provide skills. Bring most of these centers that offer this skill acquisition trainings, take them to these camps, let these people be able to do something, let them earn something. it's gone on for too long. They need to do something for them, and they need to start earning. Now the WFE is using e-vouchers. They're going to be redeeming food, and seeing what happened during the COVID era with COVID relief materials and people accused of hoarding food stuff and relief men. And WFA has also said that there are loopholes. They try to curb. That's why they're using the e-vouchers. So they are curbing some of the waste and misuse, because Nigerians know how to evade these things. So if you are bringing food, maybe somebody would have stashed the food or relief in his house. But now they're giving these e-vouchers to these people. But they've said, amongst a couple of things that they've said, that these figures are inflated. So some of the numbers of the IDPs that we hear might not actually be real, because these numbers are inflated to make sure that more aid is coming in and somebody wants to take something. But they're using e-vouchers. But I don't know. Even with these e-vouchers, you're still going to see somebody that is coming from his house to take a e-voucher to drag food with internally displaced persons. I mean, how can we curb this? How can we curb this? How can we make sure that these things get to the people that get supposed to?
In addition with what Serena mentioned about, it's not just about the feeding. There should be more permanent solutions. Yes, they do need to feed now, and then along the long run, what the government can do is create means whereby, okay, feeding is covered, but then are they secured? Are they having skills? Are they having jobs that they can lean on? For a startup, this is like an aid. Like it basically is an aid. It's not like a permanent fixture. It's an aid. Like, okay, let's help you with this so you can focus more on this. So the government should not allow aids like this to just go to waste. Like the measures they can take, like it's very sad. Like during the COVID-19 was whereby a lot of businesses crashed, a lot of people went into hunger, and then you have a diplomatic country, a country with friendly diplomatic relations with you is sending aid to you, and then you had those aids, and you're not allowing them reach where it's supposed to reach, and then they have to even create a safety measure by creating e-vouchers whereby people, it's very sad that people would use sad or terrible conditions like this to try and loot or steal funds. So I think one of the ways the federal government can do this is that they should create a strong body. We already have where these what did they call them, where these aids are going to. They should make sure that there's a committee there to make sure that whoever is coming, we have a national identity management system. We have the identities of everyone.
They use biometrics currently.
Exactly. So you can.
How do you identify that these people are IDPs and these people are not?
Well, I think depending on, they should restrict them by location. Taking these aids where, for example, if you're going to Borno, okay, this place has been, suffering from banditry attack, that was suffering from terrorist attack. You go to places in Katsina, you go to places in Sokoto, Zamfara. You know where these people are. I believe the government should know where these people are on their own. Because this is your country. It would be terrible for the government not to know where these people are. Then who are you leading actually? Who are your citizens? So I believe they should know where these people are, and they should make sure that they set people who are upright, to make sure they deliver this to the right places.
I agree with you. I mean, when we saw Trump deporting people, telling Mexicans to go back, we saw Mexico swiftly rushing to build refugee camps, and then they are preparing, and then they're telling you that this is the estimated number of persons that this camp can hold. So I feel like starting from there, the first thing they should do is, in each of these camps, there has to be a capacity. You can't tell me you don't know the number of people in, for example, Kuchingoro IDP camp. You need to know the exact number of people in that particular IDP, that camp. So at the point of bringing these people in, before you don't just bring people, there should be some sort of audit. So as people are coming in, you're taking their details, you know exactly how many people are there, how many women are there, how many children, how many heads of household, how many this. So when you have these details, you know every single person in that camp. And beyond knowing every single person in that camp, you have their data, you have their details, so that when these people come with relief materials, you can say, these are the people that we have in camp. If you want to see them, you can see them. You see that the figures match what you're seeing on site. And I think this is going to go a long way into promoting transparency and encouraging more people who want to also come in with aids to see that we are being transparent in our operations, and they would be more willing to bring more aid for us. All right, that's all we have on politics. We'll move quickly to finance, where Dangote is on this story again, but this time for a good reason. Okay, so Dangote refinery petroleum exports have hit a record surge. The Dangote petroleum refinery has seen a significant surge in its refined products, especially in the Middle East, where several refineries have shut down for maintenance. Now, this has allowed the facility to ramp up its output to nearly 650,000 barrels per day. That's a lot. I
That's a
mean,
lot.
that's a lot. If you're going to convert this at the price of crude, you see that this is a lot of FDI coming into Nigeria.
True.
But
Exactly.
you know, what does this mean for us as a country? Our own local refineries producing this amount of crude and
Well, like,
exporting really.
it's a really good thing on the economy, you know, and yeah, it helps foreign direct investments. And it's really good to see Dangote's name, to hear Dangote's name again for
In
something
it.
good this time around.
True.
Because I know it's been a bit long, we had.
Something positive.
I, I mean, my concern, my only concern is this. I mean, I like that. Okay, yes, this is good. We're exporting oil, but then what happens when these other companies are done with their maintenance? How do we keep that competitive edge? How do we maintain that edge so that he keeps exporting and this FDI keeps coming in? Also, how maintenance, you know, we really have a problem with maintenance culture. Is it going to be doing enough to make sure that there's no breakdown, you know, things are being maintained basically so that we don't hear tomorrow that, oh, one refinery has done this or part of this has. How can we ensure, or how can he ensure really that this is continuous? Should the government has tried, you know, they are supplying him with crude. NMPC is partly supplying him with crude. So that's a good step. But what else can be done to make sure that this continues and that when these other refineries come back from their maintenance, that you know this supplies don't drop, because this helps the country really.
Well, you know, even though Dangote Refinery is a private-owned company, what we should understand, like you mentioned, it affects us as a country. Whatever he's doing, whatever he's generating, is also coming back to the country in form of tax, kind of form of revenue, in form of, you know, foreign currency and on foreign exchange. So I think the government can still support, you know, until these refineries come back. Even when they come back, the government support and backing is really important. You know, kudos to the NNPC, you know, for supplying him with crude oil. And I believe there's some of like subsidy they give to him, you know, so that he produces properly. I think more can be done, not just within the NFC. The federal government too can find ways, you know, to ease its operations. You know, they can not just because the Dangote group in general, you know, there's a lot they do for the country in different aspects. You can see their contributions nationwide. So the federal government can partner, not just partner, not in the form of partner, you know, sharing of, you know, profit and all. No, I'm talking about partner in form of they should make sure that whatever is going to hinder production, whatever is going to hinder the process of the refinery or the Dangote group should not affect them directly. You know, if there are any ways the federal government can soften or, you know, protect the interests of the group to make sure that they continue process and they maintain, you know, what they are doing. And because whatever it is they're doing is definitely going to come back to the country and is going to, you know, help us in one way or the other. So I think the government should make sure they stand on that.
Yeah, I think that's actually valid. I mean, because this is really great. Him doing this, and it just basically positions Nigeria on the global stage. You know, that's Dangote Refinery is a testament to Nigeria's resilience and growth. And with this, is going to be boosting our foreign reserves, and I mean stabilizing the naira really, and that's really great for us. So talking about reserves, in a bid to meet up with the central bank's policies, recapitalization policy by 2026, two other banks are merging. Today it is Unity Bank and Providus. So Unity Bank is going to be absorbed into Providus. So we will not see Unity Bank as we know it. It's going to be Providus now, which is good. Of course, investors and customers really are safe. Investors, however, need to take note of a few changes, a few information. So the Federal High Court has mandated that by September 26th, shareholders should come out. You know, there's a meeting on September 26th, so shareholders should come. And, you know, there's an option now, two options for shareholders. Option A. So currently, Unity Bank shares are trading at 1 naira 51 kobo. And the Federal Court is saying by 26, investors can come out. And that's option A. You can come out and choose to liquidate your shares basically and take cash at 3 naira 18 kobo. So it's 3 naira 18 kobo for every 1 naira 51 share that you have in Unity Bank. And you know, that's great. So it means that if you have a million naira worth of Unity Bank shares, which is about what 662,252 shares right now, you could be getting as much as 2.1 million.
Wow.
So that's like
That's almost double.
almost 100% increase. However, option B is you get 17. You have for every 17 Unity Bank share, you get 18 Providus Bank shares.
Okay.
So if you had that 1 million worth of shares, which is 662,252 shares, you can get 701,208 shares. So these are the choices that investors have now. Come out on September 26th, take almost 100% increase, 110% increase actually, or take 18 Provident shares for every 17 Unity Bank shares. I mean, if you were an investor, which would you go for?
I'll go for the first.
She
She
likes
wants
she likes
money.
money.
She
I'll go
wants
for
to see
the
her money in
Women
her
like
No,
hand.
the
money.
merging is a good idea because it creates stability. Less competitors, more formidable competition. That's what I
Yes.
think. So it's a really good one. If
So
you ask me.
that's the value. This recapitalization is really good because we're
Yeah.
seeing more stable banks. Even though, like you said, we're not a lot of competition because we don't have so many banks out there now. But we're going to have the new banks that are going to merge now very strong. A lot of equity. They've raised a lot of money. They're able to withstand shocks and risks. So that's a good thing. But I would like to ask you the same thing as well. Which would you go for? Would you rather go for the cash, or
Well,
are you going to take
I
your
think
chances?
I think I'll be in the middle. Liquidate half. That's money at hand, and then you leave the rest. You bought shares because you believe in that bank, you believe in their business, so you can leave some left. Now there is a merger, and then see how it goes. Whichever way it goes, you're not losing completely.
Yeah.
While I do understand where Serena is coming from, wanting that cash at hand, but then at the same time, this merger is supposed to be something that's supposed to push both, because one is not collapsing because of bad business or anything. No, they are merging beginning to meet up with the CBN policy. So I believe there are greater things for both banks in the future. So getting that shares is also still important. So I'll go 50-50.
I mean, we'll see where it goes.
Sure.
For investors, let us know which you rather do, option A, option B. If you're going for option A, I mean, better go on 26th and make sure you have your money. But then it depends. I mean, if you have just 10 shares,
Then
you might as
just get the
well wait
shares.
and take whatever is available for you, to you.
Sure.
However, like what you said, I don't know. I think because I'm an investor, I like to invest and I like to take the risk. I know that investment is risk and anything can happen. So yes, I do know that I might take that risk. However, it is still a little, because taking the risk is still looking at the market, because a lot of banks, like we said, are merging together. They are going to be more stable banks, but these are less competition, but more fierce competitions, because you're facing like bank like the new GT Bank. With the 238 million naira input, that's a solid bank right there. You have Wema Bank. We've seen the Union Bank and Union Bank will
Taj.
merger with Titan Trust. So these
Titan.
are really solid, 500 million acquisition.
Wow.
So these are really solid banks, very fierce competition. And you're wondering how a Unity Providence is going to face off with that. Is there light? I don't know. That's something that we're watching to see. So it's a big risk. If you think you don't have the heart for that kind of risk, I mean,
Make
I
your
cash out.
calculations, make your research.
Analysis,
yeah,
yeah.
it's really okay.
It's 50-50.
50-50.
No.
Don't put your,
We do like
don't put your
we do like the
complete trust
betting
anyway.
site. We'll cash out. But then those
It's
are
giving MMM.
it's giving MMM really. But then those are the options that are available. And if you're an investor, let us know which you rather do. And then on our next story, the federal government claims to have surpassed its 2025 revenue target 4 months early. So the federal government says it has surpassed its target in August. The federal government has announced that it surpassed its 2025 revenue target 4 months ahead of schedule. The government also claimed that it is no longer borrowing from local banks. The Nigerian Customs Service, in particular, announced a record revenue collection. This is very, very, very interesting, and it's interesting because a lot of people have been asking, how are these happening? And then the interesting thing for me looking at all of this is that this revenue was supposed to is generated from non-oil sources.
Wow.
So it's not from if we're not looking at revenue that were generated from oil, it's from non-oil sources, which is great. They were looking at meeting, I think we're depending on oil to bring 20 billion in the first half of the year, and oil was at 20 trillion, sorry, in the first half of the year, and oil was only able to bring in 5.
Wow.
So 15, a whole 15 short. So it's a good thing that we weren't completely dependent on that. And then we have our non-oil sectors bringing 20. That's a lot, contributing 20.5, which is a lot if you ask me. That's a lot of inflow. So I don't know. You think this is a good step for us moving towards non-oil revenue generation, because this is something that we've been really garnering for a long time. Is this a dream come true?
We've been overly dependent on oil for a long time, so it's actually a really good thing that we've moved But what are these other things that are bringing? Are they depending on taxes? Because we don't want to be overtaxed.
True, true.
We don't want to be overtaxed. They should look into agriculture. If you ask me, take agriculture. We have other sectors you could look into.
And in addition to what Serena just said, agriculture, having non-oil sector generating that money and getting the corporate government claiming that they will surpass their revenue target 4 months early is really commendable. It means
Yeah,
okay,
Yes.
in a certain
commendable.
line, a lot of things have been done. Security wise, there's a boost probably in agriculture, in finance, in tech, whatever it is. There have been increase and there have been whatever moves the federal government has made. They're seeing a very yielding result, and I believe they should maintain on that track so that we build a better economy. And also, at the same time, I would say we can do a lot more.
Yes.
We've done a lot now, and we should try and maintain it, but we could still do a lot more. Imagine if we have a very reduced or zero to none insecurity levels, and then our agricultural boost goes up. People are farming more, people are exporting more, having raw products that we can process, we can export. I believe they'll probably will get the whole year's quota within the first quarter of the
No,
year,
I,
Yeah,
like, I
hopefully.
like that
exactly.
as long as it's not tax, because the way I'm looking at the new tax act where with the petroleum was supposed it's going to give us I think 659 billion
True.
yearly if that's going to help to boost it, but I don't think that's what we want. We don't
I,
Okay, no,
want
no,
more
no, no.
taxes.
exactly. We don't almost taxes.
Yeah, I don't know.
If we focus on agriculture, it would help to reduce the way we import, and we just basically export
Yes.
more. It would actually
Because
boost the economy
the
more.
present situation of the country is that okay, we're being taxed for this, we're being taxed for that, we're supposed to
Over
be building this here,
taxation.
but then people are barely feeding. We're seeing a situation whereby, like we mentioned, the US government giving aid to the country. If we're producing as much as we should be, in agriculture, I believe food shouldn't be a top problem for the people. The federal government themselves can focus more with other sectors, with health, with education, and provide good solutions and
Yes, and Nigeria is
infrastructure.
very blessed. We have a really good soil, so we
Yeah,
can
Exactly.
but we
we,
have to,
we can make
it goes
good
beyond
use
just
of
the
what
soil.
we have.
Like, we had the food basket of the nation really is under siege.
Exactly.
We have
So
a
much
state like Benue
insecurity,
State
killings.
reading with insecurity, and that
Exactly.
actually affects agricultural output. So, I mean, that's something that we really have to look at. But it's a great thing that we have, non-oil sectors contributing this much.
True.
It's good that we have forward-thinking. This government really seems to know what they are doing economically,
True.
even though we don't. We're still skeptical about certain things. But yes,
They are showing
a lot
results.
of economic policies and have been put in place, and I think we're starting to see some of the results. This is really great, and it's great that we're not dependent on oil
Yeah,
solely.
just
The
one.
fact that we're meeting our 2025 target 4 months early from non-oil sources is a big deal, and that's something that we should celebrate. That's kudos to the federal government and the entire economic team,
Yeah,
really.
that's really
I'll,
commendable. For the first time,
oh my
we are
god.
not depending on oil much.
For the first
Yes,
time in a
no,
long
it's
while.
great. It's
It's
great.
good
It's great.
news.
Our last story for today on finance is basically our NGX watch. And we see that despite the losses in September started with a lot of losses. Consolidated Hallmark and John Holt have seen appreciable gains. So the Nigerian exchange has opened September, obviously, with losses, overall losses, but companies like Consolidated Hallmark and John Holt have emerged as top gainers. This is very, very interesting. I mean, we were curious. We were talking about why these losses, why is September, because there's been a lot of confidence in the Nigerian exchange basically fairly throughout the year. But we're opening September, the ASI is dropping. It's just, why now? What's going on? Why are investors selling? More investors are selling. Why?
Actually, there's a lot that needs to be done in September. Schools are resuming. Schools are resuming. People need to restock and take children to school and all of that. So there's a whole lot that people need to spend there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say investor confidence is
So
dropping, but that's actually a good for it too.
yeah,
People need
yes,
to
yeah.
liquidate some of the stock that they have. But then interesting is that while some people are selling, investors still see Consolidated, Hallmark, and John Holt as great companies to put their money behind. They want to buy while some other people are selling. I mean, what is about these two companies? I know that Consolidated Holding is an insurer. They basically handle insurance, and then John Holt with um, you know with the equipment and lease and all that. So I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think it's just reflecting, the services they're providing. And there's a lot of market. There's a lot of market for the whole there's a lot of markets,
I
for
Yeah,
the
know.
I
services
Okay,
they
agree with
okay.
you.
provide.
So hold that thought. Let me
Yeah.
ask. Let me just get
Okay.
Serena's thought. Serena looks like she has something to say.
No, I don't have so much to say concerning it. I don't have so much to say concerning it. I just think that this is actually a good time for people to get more stocks at lower prices. It's actually a really good time if you ask me. The fact I feel like that like September is always like this if you ask me because at this point people are withdrawing for different things for different needs. So it's a really good time to invest.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
think?
A smart investor could use this opportunity to
yeah,
get more
true.
stuff.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
A smart investor will also know where to
when
put their
to
money right now.
exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah, even though we're recording a loss, that's how the whole market goes. When there's a loss, people purchase, and then when
To
there's,
buy the dip.
yeah, exactly,
I
buy the
hope that it
dip.
doesn't dip.
Exactly, it doesn't dip further. So this is really commendable. For Consolidated Hallmark and John Holt. I believe the services they provide has seen an increase, and like you mentioned earlier, insurance and lease. It's really commendable for them. Congratulations to them. We hope that other companies will be able to record an increase in theirs. It's still early. It's barely the
Yeah.
first week of September, and hopefully we'll see an increase.
I mean, it's great that they're able to hold their own down, despite all of the losses. It's making me constrained by buying the shares in both
You'll be
companies.
a
Really.
smart investor.
Yeah, no, well, we have to watch it because
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll
Truly,
see.
truly.
It's a great thing, and generally, the Nigerian exchange has been great this year. Investors are really smiling to the bank. Speaking as an investor. But that's all we have today on finance. I'll move it to Serena, where she has all of the trending stories from around Nigeria.
Thank you
What's
very
happening?
much. So today on Social Trend, our first story for today, Dr. Tufab speaks up over threats from Davido. The whole trade is a threat. So basically someone asked posted what would you someone tweeted, what would you name your child if you had one? And then Dr. Tufab was like, Osak. And then Davido replied, Davido was like it's all funny until it's not.
Funny.
Tupac came up saying that his life is being threatened and sharing the chats he had with Davido and all of that. And Davido warned him, so he stop calling me Osapolo. I don't know.
Osapolo.
Osapolo, yeah.
Stop calling me Osapolo. That's not my name. And Tupac just refused. And then he's like, I didn't exactly see Davido threatening him, but like Davido was threatening him. Why are you threatening me? Stuff like that. So a lot of persons were like, if you say stop calling him Osak, stop calling him Osapolo now.
Simple as that.
First thing,
But then again, I was just thinking of the whole Mobad issue. Mobad came and was saying a lot of things, and then people ignored him at that time. I don't know, IJ.
yeah, that's a valid point, right? Because this person is speaking out and saying, I'm being threatened. So whether or not
There was
we
really no
perceive it,
proof.
that's what I'm saying. Whether or not, I don't know their relationship. I don't know how close they are. I don't know how they used to relate before then. So whether or not, if he perceives this as a threat, it might be a threat. But it's not in my place to say that he wasn't being threatened because I don't know. However, we should not take these incidents like since the Mubad issue.
Sure.
You've seen that we should pay more attention, even if it looks like nothing was really going down. Because when Mubad was crying out while he was alive, nobody really took it seriously until he died, and then all of these things started surfacing. So he's saying it now, and then more people should be careful about the language and the way they say things, so that people don't take it personal. And then also, I'm offended on behalf of Edo people because there's nothing wrong with the name Osapolo. It's a beautiful
If
name.
a person doesn't want,
It's a beautiful name. I don't get it.
Well, it is a beautiful name, but at the same time, it's just the same way there's this whole stereotype about the name, the northern name Musa. When you hear Musa, now, the
Anybody
next thing
answering
you think of
Osapolo will be
is
offended by this. Anybody answering Musa will also be offended because it's not making
probably
nothing
just
wrong
a
I
with
think
it.
personal
people
choice.
should
Maybe he has
have.
a history with it. But then at the same time, people need to understand that celebrities are also humans. The
Yes.
same way you might
Exactly.
threaten just a random social media user, and then or you look for you poke someone on social media and then the person reacts. The same thing goes with celebrities. It's not every time they maintain that high horse, they maintain that image of okay, I won't respond to anybody or whatever I say is not getting to me. Sometimes it gets to them and they will respond. So although like you mentioned, we shouldn't take threats lightly, even though there have not been really evidence like okay, his person, you are seeing this person as a social media just clout chaser. He should be careful, next time, in the way, and it's like a lesson to everyone. Be careful, how you tag, celebrities. If someone says openly, I do not like this, not like it's a hidden message, I do not like this,
Respect people's
exactly,
wishes, yeah.
and refrain from it. Don't use social media as like a safe space and be a keyboard warrior. And then when you are being faced with just, when the music is there, dance to the tune, face it squarely.
Yeah, but we do encourage violence.
Yeah, truly, we do not encourage
Exactly,
violence.
and he might have just been joking or cloud chasing and everything, but then this will make people might not take him serious
True.
next time
Yes.
if something
Serious
may happen.
happens. True.
Exactly. So moving on to our next story, Muslim lady addresses criticism over dressing. We have
Wow.
a Muslim in our midst. No, because she basically dresses like a guy. She wears baggy jeans, but she still covers her head, right?
Tomboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's tomboy.
Well, this is an interesting.
Someone commented Muslim Hajia tomboy.
Hajia,
Hajia tomboy.
Just because I'm a Muslim
Well,
woman
that's
doesn't
very
mean
But
there's a
funny.
is
limit
there
to what I
law
can wear.
against this in
My
Islam
faith doesn't
against
restrict.
dressing
Well,
the way you
you
want?
know,
She's well covered.
seeing what she wore, seeing her message where she was talking about she's just starting her modesty journey, and then people are dragging her. I think what people need to understand, the religion is and it's as strict as it's as simple as it comes. The religion. Let me start it on this light note that Islam is a religion whereby if someone is reverting into religion, someone with a tattoo, even though tattoo is haram in the religion, it does not mandate you to take off that tattoo. And when you come on social media, you see people who claim, to be activists of religion and they'll condemn you and stuff like that. No, the situation here is that you have had a tattoo. The process of removing that tattoo is going to be excruciatingly painful at the same time. So if you feel like you cannot handle that pain, Islam does not mandate. We are not born into religion. Nobody was born into religion. If you are born into religion, it's because probably your parents were both, practice the religion,
Yeah.
so it's normal. So if it's you cannot handle that pain, the religion allows you to keep your tattoo as long as you're not using it for your own. You're not coming out to flaunt it and saying, okay, blah 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 blah, I have this. And the reason why you cannot remove that tattoo is because you actually cannot. As simple as that. So
But if you went through the pain of putting it.
Exactly. You went through the pain, but then you were based on religion, you were ignorant of it. God does not hold you accountable of what you do not know.
But no,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
she also mentioned that Islam does not condone what's called
Judgment.
It's like judgment.
Yeah, but I'm still coming to that. At the same time, I just mentioned the whole tattoo thing. But then at the same time, what Rivers and people like I mentioned, she said she's just starting her modesty journey, so people should not really come for her. People have to understand two things. One is that when you're bringing things on social media, definitely you'll be judged. Someone doing an act of good will be judged both positively and negatively. You will always have people like that. Talk more of, you're giving them a reason to judge you. So yes, the religion says you should not judge people, but at the same time, let's call a spade a spade. When you see something, you will definitely say it as what it is until a defense or a reason is being given to nullify
Negate
that,
that,
and
yeah.
to negate that. So yes, she said the religion does not allow for judging. Yes, why it says you should not judge people is because you really don't know what that person is going through. For example, if I see a Muslim, drinking alcohol, definitely I will say, why drinking alcohol? What you are doing is wrong. It's not allowed in the religion. You might be going through some things, mentally, emotionally, that might have pushed you into drinking. But that is by the way. That does not negate the fact that it is wrong in the religion. So I will comment on that, but that is not judgment. That is just saying what it is as it is. So she being dragged, for addressing, now I'm coming to that, is that she dresses, in the form of, like you mentioned, a tomboy in a dressing. What the religion says about her method of dressing is that male should not dress like female, and female should not dress like male. And there are very much valid reasons behind such. But it's there, there's no, it's a hadith on it that says male should not dress, and God curses those who dress like the male who dress like female, and the females, who dress like male. It's very clear because it causes a lot of identity issues. You can imagine if you see me now wearing a hijab now coming on set. It's very bizarre. It's very unreasonable. There are so much
to identify as a woman.
exactly. See, so there are so many evil acts that you could practice with that, and there's also so much it could do wrongly for society. Why is a man wearing a skirt? Why? And hers would have been acceptable if she does it that within her house, because this is the religion that says you should not bring out your beauty to people's house, and then she's on social media doing that. Her dressing would have been normal, with at home. It would not really have been a big deal. She wouldn't have been dragged. She wouldn't have been judged, as she mentioned, if she wasn't on social media. So we're not social media is bad, but no. If you're a fashion designer, if you're a fashionista, there's so much catalog that is out there, for Muslim women. And if she's just starting on her journey, she should know how to
Find her style.
Yeah, exactly. Find her style. Also mute out these people who comment. If these people are actually commenting, to put her back on the right track, to advise her, good and fine, she should try and take the advice. But if these people are negative, she should know how to mute out their responses, their comment. Because I believe no matter how thick your skin is, sometimes these comments will definitely get to you. So you should,
Definitely.
exactly. So she should know how if she is to lock up her comment sections, good and fine. If it's to block, keep on or reporting and blocking these people that are harassing her, good and fine. But she should also know that you should not just say you are the only one who is right in this situation. Also look at both angles, because there's always two sides to a story. Or in this case, three sides. Generally, I believe there are three sides to every story. There is your side, there is the person's side, and there's also the truth. So she should also think of that before. So yeah.
I mean, I'm
Anyway,
not a
you have to say
Muslim, but I
everything, yeah.
completely agree with him. I completely align with him. If you're going to practice a faith, and we see this with both Christians and Muslims. Not, I think it's not just if you're going to align with a faith, do everything that it says to the letter. If you're ready to practice, practice with all of your heart, and you don't have to do it to anybody. Do what you know is right, and you know the truth within yourself. Just like Islam, Christian, we are also against cross-dressing.
Yeah,
That's what
because
it
that's
is.
the
It's
issue
really
there.
it's
Yeah, it's all
cross-dressing.
about cross
We're
dressing.
against cross-dressing. But the thing is that, you know, women tend to get away with cross-dressing easier than men. Like you said, if he comes in with a hijab, I'll be immediately shocked. But if you come in wearing a guy's outfit, I don't,
Head to toe.
there's a lot. Women wear senators, the way in the men wear, and we don't see anything wrong with it. They dress completely like men with the senators, with the cap. And we don't actually see anything wrong. So they get up easily. Like we say, we call them tomboys, Hadia tomboy, and it's cool. Everybody's good. But if it was the other way around, we'll be saying Bobrisky, James Brown would have been calling all sorts of names. So I think women get off easier than men do. But cross dressing is cross dressing, and both religions are against it. There's a reason why. And if you feel like you cannot adhere, then don't come out and say, I am practicing this faith, when in essence, you're not practicing it. Let's practice what we preach. Nobody is forcing you to be a Muslim. Nobody is forcing you to, be a Christian. But if you're going to practice, then practice it fully and be honest with yourself. For people judging her, yes, I don't think we have any right as humans to judge anybody. I'm not serving God, he's not serving Allah. I'm serving God, I'm sorry. We're both serving God, we're not serving the people.
Yeah.
True.
Right? So the God that I'm serving sees me, he knows my heart, he knows whether or not I'm serving him, and it's not in your place to tell me that I'm not. So I think relatively, but then we should also be conscious, because somehow our actions also rub off on other people, because somebody else who is not on your own journey, on the same journey as you, doesn't understand, might see you doing these things and think that it is okay for them to do it. And that's how we see plenty of people practicing things that they're not supposed to be practicing.
Okay, thank you very much. Move on to our next story. 21-year-old lady stabs 34-year-old boyfriend death.
Wow. Wow.
So what's the story behind this? She had been dating this guy for 4 years. That's since she was 17 years.
Wow.
So he basically was dating a minor.
He was
And
dating
she
a
has
teen.
2 kids for him. She was cohabiting with him.
Wait.
He
Are they
opened a
married
store.
now? Were they married
They were
before?
never married.
They were never married.
Until he died, they
Wow.
were never married. She was cohabiting with him. He even had.
I am SK Dafe Bright.
She stopped
This is
schooling in SS2.
That's true.
SS2, yeah, but she speaks very fluent English. By the
It's
way.
not, but
So
I think there are bigger issues here than the English.
What led to the incident? The stabbing. They were having an argument, and then the usual couple fight, silent treatment. So she couldn't meet. Why is the face like that?
The
Silent
story
treatment.
is just so bizarre.
Silent treatment. So
True.
so she needed the prepaid to be fixed and all that. She couldn't meet him because, of course, we're not talking terms. So
But they live together.
naturally, yes, living together and we're not talking terms. Naturally, she went to the neighbor, whom he asked her never to meet for anything. She went to them to go, please help me with my prepaid, and then he helped her. She came back in, and the guy was like, I asked you not to meet the neighbor. Why did you meet? This is based on her own account.
Okay.
Why did you meet the neighbor? She said, but because we're not talking. So the guy seized the key to the store that he opened for her. And then I don't know, it was like things got messy. He began to hit her.
Okay.
The guy is dead, so he can't give us his account right now.
True.
So he began to hit her while holding the key and also a hairbrush. So he was seriously hitting her, punching her, and all of that. So he smashed her head on the ground, according to her.
Okay.
So she had the works of face like this.
I know.
She
I like the
ran.
way the fact is it according to her.
According to her, she ran. She went into the kitchen, and after her head was smashed on the ground, went into the kitchen, took a knife, and then was like, "If you come near me, I'm going to stab you." Threats,
Okay.
And then he got close to her, still attempting to beat her, and she eventually stabbed him in the heart. So at first he was still alive, and then he was rushed to the hospital. She took him to the hospital. The doctor refused to attend to him without a police report. So that is the story of how he died. I did.
I saw the story yesterday.
Could this be seen as self-defense? Because I mean, he was hitting her, Angel, what do you
There's
think?
so many things there's so many things to unpack. It seems like a simple story on the surface, but
True,
there's so
it's
many
deeper.
things to unpack. The first thing for me is, as a reading the story, I heard it afresh. I heard it again, and it's just dawned on me that this is a vulnerable person. There are people that are categorized as vulnerable people. This lady sounds to me like a vulnerable person, a person who can live at some point, without completing the education to go live with a man who is seeing this man as her benefactor. He opened shop. A lady who does not know how to pick up a mobile phone and recharge.
Is
You
allowed
do
to
not
have
pick up
kids.
your phone. A lady who is told, don't go and talk to this person. Why? There's so many things that when you listen to the story, that shows that she was being controlled, and that kind of shows her in the light as an, as somebody
As
who
a
is
victim,
vulnerable.
yeah.
However, does this justify taking another person's life? Not in any way. First of all, the parents have their own share of blame, because how do you leave a child, and it's a child, it's 17-year-old,
17, yeah. And the
to
guy
go
is
and
34
leave?
years old. He was 34 years
So he
old.
was 30 years at the time that he met her. So a
Yeah,
30-year-old man in a relationship with a 17-year-old is wild. It's wild. You're a full-fledged man. Why are you going to secondary school to go and carry? I don't want to look at the cultural issues, because some people will raise some other people's issues and say some people, yes, some. I don't want to talk about that one. But a 30-year-old man, this man might be a pedophile, because for you to have carried that 17, you might have been looking at girls that were younger before then, and then gotten to the point where because they started their relationship at 17, she moved in with him at 17. They might have started a relationship earlier than that. So where were the parents when all this were happening? Where were you when your daughter was leaving the house? Your daughter, who was supposed to be in school, was moving into a house with a man, opening a shop for her. You did not take up your responsibility and say, okay, come back. Do you know what it means? I don't think you understand what it means. How old are we? We're both women. To have 2 kids under 20 at 21.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You're
it's
barely,
mad.
your 20s are, for me, the time that you're getting to know yourself, discover who you are really. And that is the point that you have to now lose your own identity in, to
Already
another
a baby
person,
mama at
and to
21.
She
raise.
said that she was groomed because she was actually basically a minor.
She was a
True.
She
minor.
was a minor.
So first of all, if he was still alive, he should be arrested for abducting a minor. So you took this lady, you are taking her in your house. Okay, yes, you have opened shop for her, a philanthropist. Yeah, you have opened a shop for her, and she's selling what she's doing, and then you're now giving her terms and conditions, rules and regulations for living in my house, because she doesn't have a
As per
voice.
his demand.
Because you took her from, and then we've seen several things like this on X, where they're telling you, catch them young, you catch them as virgins, you groom them, they will not be doing this way. Because this is what they want. They want somebody who is overly submissive, because this is not being submissive, that you can tell, don't do this, don't do this.
Puppets.
Okay, fine. You now told her, don't talk to this person. She talked to the person. You are abusing her. Second reason why he should have been arrested. Now, from what this story looks like, it's not the first time that she was being abused by this person. We have so many agencies. We have NAPTIP, we have Whatclef. There are so many agencies that you could have come to report this abuse. Because a man that hits you would hit your children. It's
a lot of women that are abused, that are being hit,
these are the
don't know
problem.
how to speak up.
But you don't know how to speak up, but you know how to pick a knife. And these are the issues. This is why we're encouraging them now. Openly, this is an open platform. If you have issues, reach out to the relevant authorities, to the relevant agencies, and say, I am being abused. You do not have to stay in a toxic relationship. At the top of red flags, if there was a red flags list, at the very top of it should be domestic violence, because we've lost too many women to domestic violence. I don't think we
And
lost any man.
one
So
of the reasons, like Serena is trying to mention that
We've
some
lost
of
men
these
too.
women being abused, they are usually dependent on the man too much. And why this is why we're preaching for girl child education. Women should pursue
independence.
careers. But this is someone who has already left school. Before the age of 25, you've left school, you didn't even finish your secondary school education, you've not gone to university. What career are you pursuing in the first place? So you see, if she had been in that relationship probably 10, 20 years, 15 years, she would have been too dependent on the man. Everything the man, if the man says he's not feeding her for that day, where is she going to go to get that feeding? She doesn't have any source of
From
income.
his shop, he will
Someone
lock
who
his
your
shop and
family
take
has
the
already
key.
allowed you to go into that kind of relationship at such an early age, you're not getting help from them. So you have no choice but to stay in that kind of abusive relationship. Unfortunately for the man, now he is gone, but then she has been able to escape, but then at what cost?
She's not escaped. She's going to be taken
She's
into
not
custody.
Exactly. So you
Police
see,
custody. And that's the thing. Parents, as parents, we need to do better. We need to
True.
raise girls that are independent. In as much as me, from my own perspective, I believe that women, yes, because I'm a Christian and I practice, women should submit to their wives, to their
Yeah,
husbands
husbands.
rather. However, these women should have a level of independence. Submitting is not becoming a slave to
No.
this person. It doesn't mean that you cannot. No man wants a liability. A woman, that's why he can come and take the keys. You cannot take the keys to the shop that you suffer to build on your own. If he met you with your shop, he won't take the keys. But that doesn't mean that you will not respect your husband. It means that you respect yourself, enough for you to have your own thing doing, enough for you to have your own thing going. And as to whether this was self-defense, I doubt it was. You had all of the opportunity to come out and, seek relevant authorities for help, and you didn't. You could have run out of the house, but you chose to run in and keep, because she had gotten up to a point that she could no longer take it without thinking about the consequences of her actions. You can't take a life. It is not, we can't, none of us can give life, so we do not have any right to take anybody's life, regardless of whatever it was. If you had survived other abuse from this man, you should have waited, survive this one, then come out and let the law take its course. That's one. And then for the doctors coming out to say that they cannot treat this person until they get police reports, I don't know that this is a gunshot wound. I don't know that this is a gunshot wound, so I don't know why they're waiting for
The
the
health
police
sector
reports.
needs to do
But then
better.
that also, like we said, what is the value of a human life in this country? That the doctor, even if it is a gunshot wound, shouldn't these people be treated? You can treat this person and then hold this person till the payment is made. And I understand that, when they usually say we have to make deposits and all, that's a different case, because so many people have, they have limited resources. The hospitals are trying to manage, and people are fond of finding ways around. People escape from hospitals without payment. So these doctors and hospitals have found themselves being short-changed and short-staffed and all of that. But if it is a police report, if it's for whatever reason, treat this person, secure this life first, and then we'll now continue this story after. It would have been different if this guy was alive and then we're talking about
Both
attempted
stories.
murder,
True.
manslaughter, whatever it is. But that this guy is still alive and then he's facing trial for his actions, for his own crimes. But he needed to be alive. Let people be a lot. I don't understand.
Dead men don't tell tales.
Yeah, I feel like it
I
has
don't understand.
it has really messed up.
True.
She has really messed up herself. She has really messed up things
Her
for her.
kids too. Her kids are going
But
to be
what's your take on
traumatized.
the hospital not
Well,
helping out?
I think doctors take an oath, before they start practicing.
save lives.
That oath needs to always save lives and all. I think that's a very poor move from them, because there's a lot they will have done. That could have happened if they were able to save him. He would have heard his own side of the story to have made the case better. She might even have gone scot-free if truly they found out that, okay, it was actual self-defense, and he was abusing her, given his previous crimes, or that he was not even convicted for, dating a minor, impregnating a minor and then having kids and all. He would have been able to tell his story, and then he would have faced the line. She would have been safe. And that's how the hospital needs to understand that they have a bigger role also to play. It's not just about taking money, saving lives. You could save the life and then probably get the police or get the authorities that, okay, we have so cases. If it's not a gunshot wound, okay, the person was injured with a knife and we suspect attempted murder and whatnot. And then the bills will be paid. If the fear idea is that, okay, we don't want to treat a certain patient and then the person does not pay the bill, at least, make that attempt. Let the federal government have a way of paying for things like, okay, we saved a life, but then the person is not able to pay.
These revenues, this is something they can
Exactly,
be
where they
directed
and
to.
also this is where people need to understand that you have to have insurance. When you have an insurance, there's a way to easily identify you, and then they will treat you, and they'll find a way to settle these bills. So people out there need to understand, okay, always have an insurance for emergencies like this, whereby you'll be able to protect yourself and save your life. True.
Yeah,
As
I
sad
agree.
as it is.
I think
I
one
agree
thing
with
that
you.
we actually skipped in all of this is that there are two kids right now who've had both parents taken away from them, two
True.
completely innocent kids. Imagine the trauma for these kids to wake up tomorrow and see in the news that their mother killed their father. It's
Exactly. I
very
wonder what
Your
traumatic.
mother
happens
is
to
taking
them.
Very,
away.
very traumatic.
I wonder what happens to them. And adding to what you said about, I feel like in this, like, parents need to really do a lot for their children, both their male and female children. Like, a lot of parents focus on
The female.
just the female children and just leave the male. parents to do a lot for their children, both the male and the female. Moving on to our last story for today. Pella purchases 350 million naira house in Lekki, Lagos. Congratulations are in order.
I know
So a
that.
senior special assistant to Delta State's governor, identified as Osai Sources, criticizes Pella. He thinks it's actually a waste that instead of buying a house, why not focus on your education? Because Pella is a dropout. So why not focus on your education instead? I mean, what I have to say is it your money?
Well, I think people that don't have money like to give advice to people that do, because I'll be honest, I don't think Osai Success has the 350 million naira house. If he does, he should be investigated by EFCC, because how much is his
His
salary?
salary,
How
yeah.
much is the governor's constitutional salary? These are things that we need to look at. This guy is a streamer. It's legitimate income. I think it's with him not being in school, being a dropout. That's a personal question, but it raises a lot of questions. I mean, in the light of the whole school na scam movement, a lot of people
Yeah.
are saying that school school
Might really be scam.
is looking like a scam every day. It's looking more of a scam every day. How do we continue to encourage kids to go to school when they are seeing some of their favorite people that are dropouts not in school? And it might look like, you might say because Pella is a 20-year-old who has dropped out, but some of the biggest, and some very, very big entrepreneurs around the world are dropouts. Didn't complete their educations. They are making a lot. I mean, we see these stories and we continue to wonder, are we really, those of us that went to school, are we really doing the right thing?
Is it really what? But though I'm sure that there are also people who have gone to school, passed through school, and also do very well.
Yes, they are. But
well, I'd like to have your take on it.
Well, like IJ has basically, summarized everything. It's all about, if you would not see, someone like, maybe Davido or, other influencers being dragged for this kind of thing, it's because of, his previous records that, okay, the way he behaves, his attitude, his character, is questionable, the way he acts. We need to understand that social media, it has a way of, teaching people learn things, especially, the way now we have kids having access to social media is, you see 6 year or 7 year olds already on TikTok, scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And these are personalities they tend to emulate, while growing up, you can see kids playing like things, when we were watching things like Superman, Spider-Man, we're trying to act things like that. This was the media back then. And then now we have social media where we have more access to different types of content. And Pella doesn't, exclusively do content that, we say, is above children to view and stuff. These are basic content that you might consider harmless, but then at the same time, only from, the way he speaks, the English he speaks, is enough for you to consider that there are things questionable. Okay, what I try to teach people is it that you do not require education before, you can do something. No, that's not the issue. We should find a way to regulate these things. Yes, we're happy for him. He's making money. Doesn't really have to rely on the whole, going to school team. But then to a certain level, we have to understand that it's not just all about that. Not everyone is going to make that social media or online money. No. Some people really have to go to school. Pella has a team. He has a team that manages his camera. He has a team that manages his accounts and all that. So we have to also understand there are two sides of the whole thing. It's not just the one person you're seeing, but then others.
I think I also, when you say these contents are harmless, not all.
Yeah, that's why I said not all are considered as harmless.
Nobody has if you know you're not making that amount of money, you don't have the rights to tell Pella what to do.
But to be honest, I think I agree with Mo here on this issue, because like you said, not everybody has to go to school. However, this constant mockery of people who have chosen to attend schools because they are not reached a certain level of success, and then success is relative. What do the public perceive as success? Because who said that this person is not happy? A professor who has a PhD holder, or people who have discovered certain things, made certain impacted thousands of lives, are just as successful as he with his 250 million naira house. That's my take. So these people are happy. They've done a lot. They've groomed people, and he cannot survive without his team. He has a team who have gone to school, who have studied, like he said, to come to that point and help him to be a better version of himself. So let's not disparage the people that have chosen to go to school. It's not, everybody doesn't have to go to school. Innocent did not go to school. And I know we want to be like Innocent, we want to be like those people that have money that did not have to suffer and go to school. But there are so many other people who have gone to school who have not, who have also made something. So it's, again, the reward system. How do we encourage people to attend education, because I don't want my child to grow up and see these things and think that it's okay for me to not go to school. No, go to school, and then whilst you're going to school, concurrently pursue whatever your dreams are. So I think as parents, as a society, we should also encourage people beyond the tradition, because that's the mistake of the previous generation. I think that's why we see a lot of younger people today with a lot more money, because this generation understands that there's more to life than schooling. Our parents believed in school, school, school. School is the only way. When you finish schooling, get a 9 to 5, get a job.
It's easier then.
But it's not that way. It's not the same anymore. So I want if my child can be a footballer, why not? Because that's really where the money is, really.
Sure.
So I want you to go to school, but in as much as I want you to go to school, I'm going to encourage you to pick up a lot of other skills, because this world that we're living in now, you need to have a lot of skills, whether it's a content creation skill, footballing, whatever it is, wherever it is that your passion lays, go in there whilst you're attending school and make that money, explore your passions. And that's what we need to encourage as a society. But let's not continue to make this mockery of people that are actually going to school with our words as influencers, with our sponsorship of setting shows. We should sponsor shows that are also encouraging people to actually learn too. Because we don't want a bunch of illiterates at the end of the day who cannot hold their own outside. So let's
Exactly. I agree with you, IJ. In as much as school is really important, I believe that parents should actually help. The society, in fact, should help young people to gain skills, meaningful skills that could actually put food on their table. Because, yeah.
All right.
So that will be all for Social Trend today. Moving on to politics with Obas.
Now sports.
Moving on to sports.
Yeah. We'll be fast on sports today, because we're running a little bit out of time.
Yeah.
We had a lot to discuss, the entertainment, politics, and finance. For sports today, the first story here we have is a takedown of the largest illegal sports streaming network with over 1.6 billion visits within the past year. The United States Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment, in partnership with Egypt and Egyptian authorities, shut down one of the most notorious streaming websites with about 80 associated domains, bringing sports, back from the NBA, the basketball, the popular football leagues like the EPL, the La Liga, was shut down, just recently. And, it's really commendable that this was done, because, we're having big corporations that pay to have license and rights, to cover these events and, bring them down, to decoders, to stations and all that. But at the same time, what do you think, for the common man who can easily access, because we can view our favorite clubs, our favorite teams, without really having to pay that money that most cannot afford. What do you think about that, AJ?
I mean, I look at it from two sides, right? Streamers was like a light for the ordinary people who didn't have the funds to go and pay for viewing and all of that. But with piracy in any form is bad.
True.
Piracy in any form, because they're as much as you're viewing it free, you enjoy the fact that you're viewing these things free and you get to watch your favorite matches. But you don't now forget that when you come out and you're watching Man United, for example, you're seeing the logo, or Chelsea, you're seeing the logos of the sponsors, people who have invested money into these athletes, who are responsible for paying these athletes that you love, because they're not just generating money from the game itself, they're generating money from sponsorship. So when you come, you're saying that, oh, we have bought this player. You see people boasting, we bought this player. How much did you contribute towards buying that player? But by paying for these streaming platforms who have the license, you're contributing to that flow. So you can proudly come out and say, we paid for these athletes, or we paid for these players. So these people they're people, legit businessmen who have invested their money, bought rights, and then you come and you stream for free. So they are losing a lot of revenues, because which person wouldn't watch free when it's offered there? So they are losing funds, billions of dollars. 1.6 billion converts it. That's a lot of money lost in revenue, and these people are suffering for it. And as they're suffering for it, your players are somehow, the clubs are getting this. They are getting the hits in some way. So it's very wrong. We should not encourage piracy. However, this calls for affordable streaming options for the everyday man, because there are people who, with taking down this platform now, who cannot watch their favorite match. They can't see their teams play. And so it calls for more affordable streaming options. I know we want to make money. I know we want to, but let's be considerate.
Yeah.
Let's know that there are income levels and there are people who cannot afford to pay for those streaming options, and then have more affordable streaming options.
True,
Let
moving
me
on the
just make,
same,
okay.
so moving on the same light, matter of affordability. The 2026 World Cup qualifiers, Nigeria's match is is coming up with the Amavubi of Rwanda, and they are set to meet at the Super Eagles. Okay, at the stadium of I believe it's Abia State for the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. And this stadium is revered as the only standard, internationally approved standard stadium in Nigeria that international matches are allowed to handle. So this is a call for other states to build,
Step up.
step up your stadium so that you can also host international matches. But this one now is going to be held at Abia, and the tickets are set for VIP at the whooping little sum of 3,000 naira and regular for 1,000 naira respectively. So tell me, Serena, would this be something you'd be willing to pay to go and watch from?
Well,
Regarding the
yes,
affordability.
yeah, it's really affordable, yes. But I'm not really a football person, so I can't be very.
I think it's great.
It's
People
really
pay
affordable.
more to go and watch
Exactly.
artists perform. This is fair. For VIP, 3,000.
True,
3,000
exactly.
cannot get you regular
For
at
an international
certain
match.
comedy shows.
Exactly.
So I think the people who love sports, who even bet more on sports, will be willing
Yeah,
to
for
watch.
lovers
I
of
think this is one of the most probably,
I'll
the
tell my brother.
Nigerian.
He's a lover of sports.
Probably a good move, probably from the Nigerian Sport Commission, to encourage more viewership of sports, and it's really commendable.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next story, our Nigerian-owned Asisat Oshoala completes her landmark move to the great Saudi Arabia, where we consider I believe there's barely any footballer that is, can resist their offers when it comes to, trying to buy players, because they offer, an exorbitant amount of money, and they're trying to build their sports world. Bidding to host different sport events in the future, and this is really commendable. Aziz Oshoala is known, to be a five-time champion, best player for the African continent, and also at the same time, a one-time nominee for Ballon d'Or. She's moved from different,
Wow.
clubs. She's moved from different clubs, but then at the same time, from the last club she's coming from, I believe there was a little bit of decline in her performance, where the coach mentioned she's having that was why she had less appearances. So probably we might be seeing her do more in the Saudi League. Probably she's going to boost their morale, captain, probably we might see her as a captain of the team and boost morale. And because she's an exceptional player, as we know, and probably we might be seeing great play from the Saudi League and the Al Hilal that she's joining. And moving on to the next story, ex-France striker Ben Yedder fined for psychological abuse against his wife. A whopping 90,000 euros was fined by the court, with a previous 10,000 euros fine from him. And this is really sad because, as an athlete, he was a national player for France, a striker, a striker or a defender. And he's someone who's revered, with a great personality and everything. But then with his previous records, it's really sad to see that he has had records of, sexual abuse, physical abuse. And it's really commendable to see that the court is upholding, although there's, some skeptical measures saying that, okay, his sentences were suspended and no really actual time he has his out. But then also, I would also like to ask, Serena, as a lady, what do you think about, psychological abuse? What do you think about that? The psychological abuse he's being accused of. Should women be paid more when they are being psychologically abused?
Should women be paid more, even in Nigeria, outside the country, because nobody is paying us in Nigeria? It's something that women go through every day.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in Nigeria, you can't sue anybody for gaslighting, or we're talking about gaslighting, silent treatment, blame shifting, controlling, and constant criticism. I wonder who sues for that. It doesn't happen in Nigeria yet. So abroad, anybody can sue. I don't think it's something that one should be sued for, though. But though he has criminal records.
True. So I think maybe that's why he was being fined
I
heavily.
the French court is saying that this is a serious. Maybe the Nigerians, we should be taking cue. Now I'm writing this down so that when somebody psychologically abuses me or there's psychological violence, I can take it to the court and cite the French court.
Will they take you seriously? Will they take you to
but
the
those are the issues. That's why this is there. These people have taken it seriously. They've said, okay, they've made it a serious thing for somebody of that scale, somebody that high profile athletes to be fine, it's a serious thing. So now they've shown us that, okay,
They've shown us the
we
way.
can be psychologically abused. Thank you for showing us the
if
Thank you
light.
for showing us.
if women can be charged because if a man should send, recently we had a case whereby a man sent a woman some money to come and visit him and she refused to come
Yes.
and she was fine. If women can be charged to court for that, I believe
Then why
men should also
can't
be charged
men?
for
Mm.
psychological
Gaslighting.
abuse. Truly,
I like
truly,
that.
truly. So we hope the Nigerian government will also look in
The
that and
French
we
finally did something right.
true,
I
we
feel like
should
there are so many
revert.
problems for them to even think of that. Like,
Yeah, it's because they
People pretty
value
solid
every
because-
aspect. It's a good breakdown. Like, okay, everything is a priority, including mental health, which we
Exactly,
don't really pay attention much
we
to.
don't really
Although
touch it.
there are being moved, there are moves to try and include mental awareness and mental health awareness within the country. So it's really commendable. So hopefully we see a good light on that. And our final story today on sports: Algerian boxer Imani Khelif has refused the Court of Arbitration for Sports to undergo a gender test. Imani Khalif has a little bit of history. She, in the last 2024 Olympics in Paris, she fought against, I think it was a French boxer. I don't remember the country the other boxer was from, but immediately after the match, her opponent was crying. She was in tears, saying she was not really happy with her opponent. Her opponent felt like she was being punched by a man. According to her, she felt like the stage was not fair. It was not balanced. And Imani Khalif has a history. Prior to the 2024 Olympics, in 2023, she was disqualified from boxing because she refused to undergo, a gender test back then. Although why she was allowed in the Olympics was because she had a passport which showed she was female and she had a birth certificate which showed she was female. So they didn't really have much to go against her, and there was no really complaints when she was registering. But then after the match, there was a lot of speculation. She did win the match. She did get her gold. But then now speculations are back again. Because back then, during the Olympics, she did say she was a female, true and true. She was born a female. She had her pictures and everything. But then, if truly you're a female and you have nothing to hide, why is she now going against the Court of Arbitration from undergoing a gender test to finally prove that, okay, yes, I am a female and I want to participate? But the question I have, from Serena, both of you know, the question, being females, I'm not a female, so I cannot say. Do you think women should not be judged by how they look physically as their gender?
That was not the question I was hoping for. 'Cause, I completely agree. Females should not be judged by how they look, especially athletes, because athletes have a physique, a certain physique that can sometimes appear masculine depending on the sports that they play. Boxing could be one of them. However, she said she's female. The Court of Arbitration has said, okay, we do a gender test. I think this is to protect other athletes, not just her. It could also protect her because all of the speculations and criticisms will be put laid to rest once and for all. So
Sure.
the outcome of this her appeal will determine going forward what balances are and how other people approach sports. So this is a question of fairness. It's a question of identity and biology. So I think she should actually do this test, not just for her, but for other people as well. It's easy for you to bring pictures of, from when you were a child. Just do the test.
Sure.
Do the test, lay these accusations to rest once and for all. It doesn't necessarily mean you're hiding anything, but just do it. And then this should be a standard. If you're going to go, this will not have been an issue years ago, but it is an issue right now. In the world of today, this is a valid issue.
Sure.
So let's have gender tests be the way they do drug tests. Let there be gender tests before, because it's a level playing ground. We cannot have two males participating in female sports,
Sure.
whether they are trans or not. Males cannot participate because it's unfair. The balance is very, very unfair. As much as we want to drag for female gender equality, we are not equal, not in strength, not in certain other aspects. So let's have this gender test institutionalized. Let it be a part of the requirements before they participate in sports. And if anybody chooses not to comply, then the person should not be allowed to partake in the sport. Simple.
Exactly, I agree with you, IJ, because I see no reason why she wouldn't take that test if she's really not male. Even though like, judging from her photos, we can't really tell what gender she is. That's why it's very important for her to take the test, But then again, if the opponent was like, she didn't feel like it was a lady that was punching her, this is a boxer, this is an athlete, this is an athlete, someone who has been practicing for a long time. So you don't expect a female footballer to look so feminine. You don't expect a female boxer to look so feminine. Then again.
True. That is really true. We should not just judge female athletes, by their
Why would
physiques.
you judge a female athlete?
No, I'm just saying,
Why would you
sports,
ask that
sports,
question?
sports is not just for men. Women can also participate, have fun. That's why they have their own whole section. They have their own. We have female. We are not saying male should box with female. No, females have their own sport. They have their own. We have football for women. We have boxing for women. We have all manners of sports, for female. Wherever women feel like they want to participate, I believe we can always create and accommodate for them. And whereby the women do not feel safe within that space, I believe there are easy measures like this. The case of Imani Khalif, she can undergo the test and finally put the allegations to rest. And we do hope she does that. And we do hope she is feminine and her previous claim will really stand, and it will also protect the image of other females. And we will judge less when we see females, having masculine physique also due to training and all that. That's all we have today on sports.
And that's all we have today on the morning break. Thank you very much, Serena. Thank you more for a wonderful analysis today. Tomorrow, join us again tomorrow for another exciting episode where we hope that Mohammed will bring in more than just stories. Tomorrow is Eid Malud. It's a wonderful celebration for all Muslim faithful. We wish you guys a wonderful celebration and we hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.